Welcome to John Gets Games. Today I'll be doing a full 2-player playthrough of Karmaka. The Kickstarter campaign for this game begins on January 19th, 2016, and I can tell you that the art in this card game is stunning, just vibrant and gorgeous on every card in the game. What you're trying to do thematically is transcend the different layers of life. You'll begin as dung beetles, and the first person to gain transcendence wins the game. Mechanically, what you're doing is playing your cards out in front of you to either activate abilities, which can directly affect your opponents, or just put them down for various point totals to try and get to certain thresholds to level up every time you die and reincarnate, hoping to not be a dung beetle, but now be a snake, and then now be a mammal, and continue up along. So let's stop talking about it and jump into how the game plays. Here's a starting setup for a 2-player game of Karmaka. We have the red player zone over here and the green player zone over here. This is the Karmatic ladder. Both players start down at the dung beetle level, and the goal of the game is to be the first person to ascend all the way up to transcendence. The moment anybody gets there, the game is over, they win. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to play the red player. I'll show you the red player's hand and their decisions, and the green player is going to be a bit of a mystery, and we'll see how that plays out. Each player begins with a starting hand of 4 cards, and they also start with a deck of 2 cards in their area. There are several other named zones, but I'll get to those as we arrive at them. Let's just say that the red player goes first, so let's jump into the first turn. There are 2 parts to every turn. The first part is drawing a card from the top of your deck, if you have any cards there, so we draw this top card into our hand. Here is our hand of cards. There are 3 different main suits in the deck. We have red, green, and blue, and there are also a few of these prismatic cards which are wild. The cards have values that range from 1 to 3 in the top left corner, and then every card has an ability that's printed on the bottom of the card. For the second part of a turn, we must play one of these cards down, or we can choose to pass and not play any cards as long as we still have cards left in our deck, so that is an option, but I think we're going to be playing one of these. There are 3 different ways you can play a card from your hand. The first way is you simply put it down into your deeds area, which is a single column in your player area. You're going to be stacking cards on top of each other. As you put more deeds down, it's going to cover up previous ones, and when you put a card down for a deed, you ignore the text on the bottom, and you simply get the number in the top left and the associated suit that it is with. The second way that you can play a card is for its ability on the bottom. So for instance, we could play Jubilee. We would be ignoring this 3 green at the top, and we would read the bottom and evaluate the effect. This one says, move up to 2 cards from your hand into your deeds. Well, that's pretty nice. You could just take 2 cards like this and just drop them down right there. That's a very efficient way to get those cards down. But the other side of spending a card for its event on the bottom is once you do that, your opponent has the option of taking that card and putting it into their future life. So as we're trying to go up this karmatic ladder, we're actually going to be continuously dying and reincarnating. And the idea is you want to reincarnate into a better life form. So when you put cards into your future life, it's going to be cards that you have access to after you die and reincarnate again. So you might use this really good card, but your opponent might say, that's a really good card, I'm going to take it and put it into my future life for later in the game. However, if the opponent didn't want it, it would simply be put into the ruins. And the third thing you could do is simply take a card and put it down straight into your own future life so that you will have access to it later because maybe it's not particularly good for you at this moment. What we're trying to do with the deeds is make sets of certain colors getting to a certain threshold of value in order to go up the karmatic ladder. Essentially, when you die the first time as a dung beetle, if you have a deed color that is 4 or greater, that will allow you to go up once, and now you're a snake and no longer a dung beetle. However, only colors matter. So if I put this down here, then I have a 3 of red and 2 of blue. Neither of those add up to 4. However, if I was to put these 2 greens down, you add the greens up together, and now that's 5. So you essentially find the best set of a single color. It doesn't have to be necessarily in order, and if that meets this threshold, then you get to go up. Because we have 2 green cards in our hand that would add up to more than 4, I say for our first turn, let's put the Jubilee down as a deed. So now we have 3 going towards the green, and that's going to end our turn. The green player begins his turn by drawing the top card from their deck, and they're going to begin by playing a 3-value card as well, simply as a deed. Our turn begins, we draw the top card of our deck, and oh, it's another blue card, alright. There are many cards where the effect of the text on the bottom can mess with the deeds that people have, and right now this is an exposed deed. For instance, you see this one, it says ruin a rival's exposed deed. That means I could just play this card in order to get rid of this deed right here, or I could put another deed down as protection to protect this 3 here, and this 3 is quite powerful. So looking through it, I think we may as well go ahead and drop this blue 2. We put that down there. That's going to protect the Jubilee from a nasty card that the green player might play, but also we have another blue, which would get us to 4, and we still have this prismatic one, which is just wild, so we're in a pretty good position. The green player draws their top card. The green player decides to play Embody as the effect. It says choose one of your deeds, play a copy of that deed's ability. Well, if we look down here, they only have one deed, and the ability says look at 3 random cards in your rival's hand, take one of them into your own hand. So that means the green player is going to grab 3 cards from our hand, and they grabbed these 3, and they get to steal one of them. They think Vengeance looks pretty mean, they don't want us to have access to it, so they're going to take that into their hand, and then we get these back. And finally, we have the option of keeping Embody in our future life, or it would go into the discard pile. It seems pretty powerful, so let's go ahead and put it face down into our future life. It's the beginning of our turn. We have no cards in our deck, so we don't draw any. It also means we must play a card, although we have been doing that as the game's been going on. So let's go ahead and, well, let's see. Let's drop this Sowing down. That gives us 5 in green. It leaves us a little bit exposed. We know that the blue player took that really awesome red card that could destroy it, but if he played it on us, well, we would get access to it later. The green player decides to play Destiny as its effect. It says look at the top 3 cards of the well and place 2 of them into your future life. So they get to look at 3 of these cards, and they'll put these 2 into their future life, and this one goes back on top of the deck. We have a choice of keeping this card, and we figure, yeah, why not? We'll keep that card for our future life. It seems pretty powerful. It's our turn again. We have no cards to draw, so let's see. We could play an effect from one of these. We could ruin a card from our hand to play a copy of that card's ability, which would be Mimic. That would allow the opponent not to grab this card, but let's see, choose any rival's exposed deed and play a copy of that deed's ability. Well, that is a reasonable idea. What we would be doing also is getting rid of our cards more, because you die once you have no cards in your deck and no cards in your hand. And the sooner we die, probably the better. However, if we die and the blue player is able to destroy this Sowing, well, then we're in a lot of trouble. I think we want to protect ourselves by putting this Denial down. Now we have a 4 in 2 different colors, so we're pretty set to upgrade the ladder into snakes once we die. The green player decides to just put 1 card from their hand into their future life, and that ends their turn. We begin our turn, we draw no cards, we have only 1 card left in our hand. It says, choose any rival's exposed deed, play a copy of the deed's ability. Well, we don't really want to get more cards into our hand because we kind of want to die in a really good position to go up the ladder. This is a race game, so let's go ahead and just throw this into our future life so we have access to it later. We now have no cards in our hand, so next turn, we're going to die. The green player draws no cards, and they play Thievery into their deeds area. They're doing this now probably because they know we have no cards in our hand. We can do nothing to counteract that, so it goes back to us. Now we have no cards in our hand, we have no deck to draw from. This means we now die and reincarnate. The first thing we do is we score our best deed. That would be green, so 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 is greater than 4, so we're going to go up the chromatic ladder here, and then all of these deeds are ruined. Our future life deck now becomes our new hand for when we are reborn at the beginning of next turn, and at this point we need to draw cards from the well into our deck so that we have 6 cards total. So in this case, we have 3 cards in our hand, so we need to draw 3 cards from the well, and that creates a 3-card deck for us for our life as snakes. It's the green player's turn. They have more cards in their hand because they stole some from us. And they're going to play this card down as a deed, probably to protect these prior ones so that they get to become a snake as well. It's the beginning of our turn, and these 3 cards look familiar because we intentionally put them into our future deck. We draw the top card from our new deck, which is random, and it's Sowing. So let's take a look at what our options are. Sowing lets us draw 2 cards from the well and then place 2 cards from our hand into the future life, so that's making next life really good. Mimic we know, Embody we know. These are both wild, which is nice. Unfortunately, we need to hit 5 on this ladder in order to go to the next step. And right now, it's not looking terribly strong, although we don't know what these 2 cards are. I think at this point, not really knowing what's coming up next, let's go ahead and play Sowing for its ability at the bottom. So we draw 2 cards from the well and then put 2 cards from our hand into our future life. We were able to grab, oh, let's see, that's funny. We got 2 Dwindles. There are multiple copies of all the cards in the deck. Some cards have more copies than other ones do. When we had these into our hand, well, man, that's really not looking terribly interesting at this point. We could definitely spend this Destiny later on in this current round to try and build a better future life, because having these 2 Dwindles is not great. Or we could just keep them for now. We got to put 2 of these away. You know what? I think let's just grab both of these, throw these both into our future life, and deal with the consequences of that later. The green player has an option of taking Sowing into their future life, and they decide to do it. It's the green player's turn. They have no cards to draw, and they only have one in their hand. They decide to put it into their future life, and that ends their turn. The first thing we do is draw the top card, and oh man, another low value card. This is a little bit of a bummer, but right now we can do things without really being messed with because our opponent here just got rid of the rest of their hand. They're about to die, so let's go ahead and drop Destiny down as a deed. It's a relatively strong blue card. We have another blue in our hand, and these can both be blue if we need them to be. Plus, we know that Embody would allow us to actually activate the ability on Destiny while still having it in our deed, so that's a pretty good combo. The green player dies because they have no cards in their hand and none in their deck. They score their deeds, and they got to 6 with blue, which definitely gets them over 4. So they ascend the ladder here. All of their deeds get ruined, and now they draw up their future life into their hand. They have 1, 2, 3. They have 5 cards here, so they only draw one from the deck, one from the well, sorry, to make their own deck, and they'll have a hand of 5 cards, which is pretty flexible. We begin by drawing our last card from the deck, and it's another weak green. This is an entire round of very weak cards for us. The only way we have any chance of getting to 5 is if we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Essentially, we'd have to get every one of our cards down into the deeds without the green player messing with that. And we're pretty sure, we haven't seen them actually play that Vengeance card they stole from us in the first life. So we know they have some mean stuff in their hand, so I don't think we should even bother trying to become wolves at the end of this round. Let's think to the future. Let's go ahead and play Mimic here. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not Mimic, but Embody. And this lets us choose one of our deeds and play a copy of that deed's ability. So we'll play this one. We'll pick Destiny, and it says look at the top 3 cards of the well and place 2 of them into the future. So let's take a look and see what we've got here. Ooh, wow, these are pretty good. We got Voyage, draw 3 cards from the well. It's a 3 value. And I mean, right here, we need to pick these 2 because they're both green, they're both high value. We'll put both of these into our future, and then this will just go back on top of the well, and we're looking pretty good for the next time we reincarnate. The green player can take this into their future life, and I think they plan on doing that. It's a pretty flexible card. With 5 cards in hand, the green player draws their only card from the deck, so they now know everything they're going to have available to them over the next 6-ish rounds. They're going to start by playing Spite into their deeds. One of the main reasons they're not going to play this for its ability, it says ruin 2 random cards from the rival's hand. Well, they are already kind of behind in the race, right? We got a couple turns ahead in going up here, and when you ruin cards from a hand, I mean, it's unfortunate you lose those cards, but you more quickly get to dying and reincarnating, which you need to do in order to win the game. So they're putting this down just for the powerful 3 red and attempting to actually hit this 5 level to get ahead of us on the wolves. 2 out of our 3 cards are very similar. We have look at a rival's hand, you may then play another card, and this one, draw a card from the well, you may then play another card. It might be kind of nice just to get rid of both of these to die quickly. We know we're not going to be reincarnating up the ladder very well. We're going to be snakes again. So let's just get it over with. We've got great stuff in here. This is a race. So we'll start by playing Peek. It lets us look at the rival's hand. We can then play another card. So let's take a look and see. The green player has, oh my, they've got a whole bunch of red. They've already played this 3 of Spite. They've got just a bunch of red going on. This Peek doesn't let us do anything with it, but we now know they have a very strong play for going up the ladder when we are not actually doing that. So that puts us a little bit behind in the race. The green player has a choice to keep this into their future, but they don't like the look of it very much. They'll go ahead and ruin it. But we get to play another card because that was Peek's ability. So let's go ahead and do another day. It's very similar. We draw a card from the well, and then we can play another card. So we put this here. We draw this card into our hand, and it's Denial. Oh, this one lets you ruin a card from your hand to play a copy of that card's ability. That's another way to quickly get through our hand. Well, think about that for just a second. For now, we offer this card to the green player to take into their future life. They don't like the look of this one either. It would really be nice to get to 5 in order to go up this ladder, but we just looked at the green player's hand and we know that he's got more than enough stuff to destroy our deeds and still go up the ladder. So I think for the sake of just trying to get to the next life, because this life wasn't too great, let's go ahead and play Denial for its ability. It says ruin a card from your hand and play the copy of the card's ability. Well, we'll ruin Mimic, which lets us choose a rival's exposed deed and play a card that deed's ability. So this gets ruined. They have this exposed deed right here. Well, this is going to ruin 2 random cards from their hand. This is going to help them with the race, but if we ruin the right ones randomly, it might stop them from having enough reds to actually go up the ladder. So we shuffle up this hand, and then we draw 2 cards from it, and we ruin... Oh man, that's awesome for the red player. The green player is pretty upset about this. So both Vengeance and Panic get ruined, and we now know he's not going to have enough deed power to go up this ladder in this life. Now the red player has the option to keep Denial in their future life, and I think they're going to go ahead and do that, because that is a pretty powerful card. The green player decides to play Sowing for its ability down here. It says draw 2 cards from the well, and then place 2 cards from your hand into your future life. So it looks like they're trying to mine for a card that's going to allow them to go up, hopefully a big red for the green player. And the green player puts these 2 cards into their future life. We now have the option of taking Sowing into our future life. We can take a look at our future life and see we actually have some strong green cards. Having more green is even better so that we have an overwhelming amount. If the green player tries to mess with us, we won't be able to. So let's go ahead and take that, put it into our future life. It's looking pretty good for us. It's now our turn, and we die again because we have no deck and no cards in our hand. So we score our deeds. We have 2 blue, which is not enough to go up the ladder, so this gets ruined. However, whenever you reincarnate but don't go up the ladder, you gain one of these karmatic rings. And what these are is a one-time use expendable item to add 1 to your deed level as you're going up. So we might not have raised this turn, but this is going to help us on future turns when we're just not quite there to be able to cash this in and go up the ladder. So now let's finish up our reincarnation. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in our hands. That means we draw only 1 from the well for our deck, and that ends our turn. The green player plays Salvage for its ability on the bottom. It says take one of the top 3 ruins into your hand. Now the green player was pretty upset when those really good cards got taken from their hand, and when we grab the top 3 cards, well, would you look at that? That's some pretty good stuff for them. These 2 cards come back, and now we have the option of taking this card into our future life. That's pretty solid, especially if something we really need gets kicked out. So let's go ahead and keep that for the future. We've got 5 cards in our hand, and we begin by drawing the last card up. Oh my gosh, so many green cards. All we need to do is get to 5, but we have an overwhelming amount of green in our hand. I think it still makes sense to drop Voyage just for its number in the top. We know that the red player has that card that can destroy deeds, but we also know they're probably going to want to actually play it to go up the ladder, so we're pretty safe and we'll be able to cover this up in no time. Plus, this card would let us draw 3 cards from the well, and we have all the cards we need. The green player plays Panic for its ability on the bottom. It says ruin the top card of any player's deck, and then you can play another card. Well, there are no cards over here, so it's pretty obvious the green player just wants to rush through their deck to try and catch up. So we now have an option of taking this into our future life, and that doesn't look terribly appealing to us. We know we have a green card in there already. We'll let that be ruined. And the green player's other turn is to play Vengeance down. I think he figures we can't mess with him. He's been noticing that we kept putting green cards into our future life. It's pretty likely we're not going to be able to do anything about that. And unfortunately, he would be right. The red cards are the ones that mainly mess with their opponents by destroying things. The blue cards do a lot of stealing, and the green cards, they do a lot of stuff that helps you out. And these red cards, they're the same, and they say the player of your choice ruins a card from their hand. Well, the green player doesn't even have any cards in their hand, so right now we can't do anything. We know they're going to be upgraded to wolves before us, so that's a bit unfortunate. So let's go ahead and take Sowing and just play it down as a deed. It's the green player's turn. They die because they have no cards in their deck or their hand. They count their score. They have 6 power here, which is more than 5, so they ascend this ladder. Their deeds get ruined, and now we take a look. Their future life has 4 cards in it, so they draw 2 cards from the top of the deck, from the top of the well, to start their own deck, and that ends their turn, and unfortunately, they're now beating us. We now have a couple options. We could ruin a card from their hand. We know they have 4 good cards because they've saved them into their future. We could also deal 2 cards from the well onto a player's deck, which essentially slows them down, making them take longer. Like, longevity is kind of a bummer in this game. You want to die more often. We probably want to keep that to try and slow the green player down, but we also want to put something down to protect. So I think we'll put this Recycle down here, so that kind of protects the 3 and the 5, so that the 5 that we need to get up is already taken care of. The green player draws the top card from their deck into their hand, and they start by simply playing Denial down as a 2 blue into their deeds. Well, we know that we probably want to use Longevity on our opponent to slow them down, so we certainly don't want to play Dwindle, because that will ruin cards from their hand. I think what we'll probably do is put these cards down into our deeds. We don't really want them in our future life. That'll further protect our deeds, and the last thing we'll do is make his deck go longer. He won't see that coming. So let's take this Dwindle and put it down in our deeds. The green player draws their last card from the deck. The green player plays Recycle. It says move one of the top 3 ruins onto your future life. So looking at the top 3 here, wow, there's some really good cards here. Spite ruins hands. We don't really want to do that. Vengeance is really good as a deed to try and go up the ladder, but it also messes with other people's deeds. So he's going to take that one there, and these go back on top. And lastly, we could take Recycle into our future life, but I don't know, it's a pretty weak green card. Let's go ahead and ruin that one. We don't want that one. We're going to go ahead and stick with the plan. We don't draw any cards, and let's put Dwindle down into our deeds area. The green player plays Embody, which lets them choose one of their deeds and play a copy of that ability. Well, they have Denial down here, which lets them ruin a card from your hand to play a copy of that card's ability. So this Embody activates the Denial, and they're going to ruin this Embody to activate its ability, which says choose one of your deeds and play a copy of that ability. There's a bit of a loop here. So Embody goes down, but that then activates this to ruin another card from their hand. You're not going to believe it, but they're going to ruin another Embody. That's 3 of them in one turn, and that lets them choose one of their deeds and play a copy of that deed for its ability. This goes down here. They've only got one more card in their hand. They flip it over, and it says, take any card from your future life into your hand. So this gets ruined. This comes into their hand, and they only have one card. Suddenly, that was really quick. They just raced through their deck, trying to get rid of all those cards. It looks like they weren't going to be going up the ladder anytime soon with those cards. We have the option to use Embody, and it is quite powerful being able to activate the stuff you have down as deeds. So we'll take this one into our future life. Unfortunately for the green player, we have Longevity, and we're going to play it on him. So that deals 2 cards from the well onto that player's deck. So they thought they had gotten away from it, but these cards both go down here, and they're not out of this life yet. They have the choice to keep this card, and they decide to, so that's going to go into their future life. So our green player now must draw one of these 2 cards they just got, so they have 2 cards in their hand, and they're going to play a card down into their future life. At this point, we die. We have no more cards in our hand and no more cards in our deck. We look to our deeds and score. We've got 6 green power and 2 red power, but the 6 is enough to get us up to the wolves level. So that pops us up here. All these cards here get ruined. We don't have to use this, so we'll save this for the future. And now we reincarnate. These cards come into our hand. We've only got 2. That means we're going to have to draw 4 cards from the top of the deck to create our own deck. And that goes right over here. The green player draws the last card from their deck into their hand. They're going to play Peek for its ability. It says look at the rival's hand, and you can then play another card. So the green player gets to see that we've got Salvage and Embody here. That's not terribly interesting. They're going to make a mental note of that. We have an option of keeping Peek into our future life, but I don't think we really want that. It's kind of a weak blue, but the green player gets to play one more card, and they're going to throw this card into their future life. At the beginning of our turn, we draw the top card from the deck. Oh, nice. And it is another green card. That is very handy for us. The green player has no cards in their hand, so they can't really mess with anything at the moment. We could take one of the top cards in the ruins, but we kind of just shove those in there randomly. We're not sure what's in there. So let's go ahead and just play Salvage as a deed. We have a prismatic thing here. We got some pretty good greens going on. We don't know if we're going to hit well here, but worst case, we can always play Sowing in order to draw some more cards from the well. The green player dies. They have no cards in their hand and none in their deck. They score 3 for their deeds, which is not enough to get to 6. So this gets ruined. They get their own Karmatic Ring, and then they reincarnate. They've got 1, 2, 3 cards in their hand. That means we draw 3 cards from the well to create their new deck. We begin by drawing the top card of our deck. Oh my gosh, wow, we're getting really lucky here. I promise I shuffled this deck quite a bit. So, well, I think we just play the Salvage down as a deed. I mean, we're starting to make a pretty good run on green to try and jump up to the Primate level, so I think that's a pretty good idea. The green player draws their top card. The green player decides to play Longevity down as a deed. It's the beginning of our turn. We draw the top card from our deck, and we've got another Longevity. There's a bunch of those in circulation now. Green is looking very strong for us. We just need to get to 6, so I figure let's just keep throwing the stuff down into our deeds and try to make a really strong run for it. The green player draws the top card. They play Salvage down as a deed, so they're also making a run for green. We draw the top card, which is our last card from the... Oh my goodness, so many greens. We got very lucky with the draw there. Well, I figure we should probably mess with the green player more. Let's play Embody. It says, choose one of your deeds, play a copy of that deed's ability. Let's choose Longevity and make the green player live a little bit longer. They might not be getting what they need. We're certainly putting them back a little bit slower in the race. They have the option to take Embody into their future life, and they decide to. The green player now draws one of these cards from the top, and they play Crisis on us. It says the rival of your choice ruins one of their deeds, so it's our choice which one of these we ruin. Figure let's just get rid of one of these salvages. We already have another one in there. For some reason we get another Embody, so that gets ruined. It sets us back a little bit, and now we could take Crisis. It's a pretty strong red card. Let's go ahead and keep that and see if we can do something with it. Alright, so we can't draw any cards from the deck. We've got 4 green power in there already. If we drop this down and it gets killed, then we're in trouble because we don't have enough to get up to 6. Although we could spend this to get up to 6 to really try and push up. I think we probably want to make a bid for that. So let's go ahead and play Sowing Down as a deed to see if we can weather any more aggression that the green player has. The green player draws their top card, and the green player plays Thievery on us. Once again, the blue cards can really mess with your stuff and steal. So this says, take a rival's exposed deed into your hand. So they get to take Sowing, and that goes into their hand. We have a choice to keep Thievery, and why don't we? That could be useful in the future. We'll just throw that over there. It's back to us, and this isn't looking good. We could definitely drop this down and hope to have the 5 plus the Karmatic Ring to get to 6. However, we know that the green player has a bunch of cards in their hand, and oh man, that's a little tough. Or we could just play another day to draw a card from the well, and then play another card and just see if it's good enough. This is really tough. I think considering how many cards that the green player has, it'd be really risky to try and push for this. So let's go ahead and play another day for its ability. Let's draw the top card and see what we get. Oh, dang. All right, so that says it's Dwindle. We get to play it. The player of your choice ruins a card from their hand. Well, we can put it down as a deed. Well, we pretty much have to do something with this, or put it in there. We do know we have a red card already because we just took that Crisis. Right now, why don't we just take this into our future life and hope to make a good run on some red cards. And now the green player can take another day into their future life, but they decide not to. The green player draws this top card here, and they play Sowing Down as a deed, so they're making a very strong bid to go up the ladder here. And now it's our turn, and we have no cards in our hand to really do anything about that, so we die. We score our deeds. We have 4 plus a potential 1, but that's not enough to get to 6. So these deeds get ruined. We get another Karmatic Ring because of that, which might make it easy to get to the 7 in the late game, because getting to 7 is quite a lot. This doesn't really push us back that much, but of course you always want to go up the ladder. So we've now died. We reincarnate. We've got 1, 2, 3 cards in our hand. So we draw 3 cards from the well to make 6 total. That creates our deck, and that's the end of our turn. The green player plays Longevity as a deed, trying to really lock in all that power to make themselves go up the ladder, and that's their whole turn. So we definitely have cards that can mess with the green player, and we get to draw the top card, which is random. Ooh, Voyage, wow. Draw 3 cards from the well. Ah, man, well, we should probably keep hold of this for a little bit. We're not sure if we're going to need that. We could play Crisis so that our rival has to ruin one of their deeds, but they have so many deeds. We could also steal one of those deeds into our hand, or the exposed deed, which is Longevity, and make a pretty good play for green. We just don't know if we're going to get more green. Well, this is tough. I think we should probably let's go ahead and play Thievery. So we'll play this as the action. That's going to steal this one into our hand, and now the green player has an option to keep Thievery, and they do. The green player doesn't draw any cards, and they decide to put Roulette down as a deed, probably to protect their solid 6 on the ladder going up here. All right, so we draw top card. Oh, that's unfortunate. A strong blue, and we just got rid of a strong blue. But this one would let us move the top card of a rival's future life into your future life. Well, we got quite a few options here. We could use this one to force them to ruin a deed, but they'll just get rid of Roulette. So we don't have to play a card. We could just stall out and see what this card is here, but this game is a race, and so we probably want to play cards down. Right now, we're not looking to have a strong shot at getting to 6. Unfortunately, we should probably play Voyage and draw 3 cards. It slows us down, but we really got to get some more cards together to make a good play on the deed, so we will play that. We'll draw 3 cards from the top of the well into our hand, and now the green player can take this into their future life, and they decide to. By the way, we drew 3 red cards, so that's probably going to dictate what we're going to be doing next. The green player draws nothing, and they decide to put this card into their future life for their turn. We've got a huge hand of cards, and we draw this last card here. Ooh, and it's prismatic, so we definitely have a whole bunch of options here. We could see Crisis would get rid of one of their deeds. Spite just ruins their hand. Panic takes their deck. Hell's Heart ruin the top 2 cards of a rival's future life. Ooh, that's pretty mean. We know they have some good stuff in there, but we really want to use these reds to try and go up this ladder. So I think let's go ahead and open by playing down Spite as a deed to start making a play for the red. The green player just plays Roulette as a deed, as the last card from their hand, and that's their turn. I think we should keep dropping some reds down into our deeds. If we put this Hell's Heart down now, that gets us to 5, and we only need 6, and we got a bunch more red. Not sure how much mean things the green player has in here, but we'll find out soon. The green player dies, they have no cards in their deck or their hand, so they count their score. They've got 6 green, which is enough to go up the ladder here. All these cards get ruined, and they reincarnate. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4 cards in their hand, which means they draw 2 cards from the well to create their new deck. We should keep pushing forward, but I think we should keep Crisis, because that would allow us to ruin a deed, which would potentially slow them down. So let's drop Dwindle down as a deed. We're now at 6, so let's see if we can maybe get some other cards in there to protect this lead we have here. Well, not really a lead, but we really want to catch up, and we do have more Karmatic Rings than the green player does. The green player's got 4 cards. They draw 1 from their deck, and they only need 6 in their deed power when you add in this 1 Karmatic Ring to hit 7 and hit Transcendence and win. So let's see here. The green player decides to play Vengeance down, but they put it down as a deed. They see they're ahead. They probably want to keep pushing that lead instead of slowing us down more. It's our turn, and well, that's a very juicy card. I figure we should probably play Crisis now. That's going to force them to ruin this card here, so we're not sure what else they have in their hand, but that'll probably slow them down. So this card gets ruined, and the green player can keep Crisis, and they will do so. The green player draws their last card from their deck, and they play Voyage for its text on the bottom. It says draw 3 cards from the well, so they take 3, and those go right into their hand. And then we have a choice of keeping this Voyage card, and that does seem like a really good card, so let's go ahead and keep it. Alright, we've definitely slowed down the green player a bit. We can play Longevity later. Let's play a card to really protect what we have going on here. Let's go ahead and just drop this Panic. It's not terribly interesting to us. It will let them ruin cards from their deck, but that would actually speed them up, and we want to slow green down. So we'll put that down as a deed. The green player doesn't draw anything. They don't have a deck. And they decide to play Another Day for its text. It says draw a card from the well, and then you can play another card. So they draw this into their hand. We have a choice of keeping this in our future life, but that's not too interesting. Let's go ahead and ruin that. And since the green player gets another action, they're going to play Transmigrate for its effect. It says take 1 card from your future life into your hand. Well, they just take this card here. We have a choice of keeping this card into our future life, but that's a little bit too long game. Let's go ahead and discard that one. Let's take a look and see what we have in our future life. Right now, it's a green card. Well, we know we have to upgrade 2 more times. We could play Longevity to slow the green player down, but we also want to make sure we have a good play for hitting Transcendence. Let's go ahead and put Longevity into our future life so that we know we have a good play for green. The green player plays Vengeance again as a deed again. Unfortunately for the green player, we have Mimic. We're going to play it as the text on the bottom. It says choose any rival's exposed deed. Play a copy of that deed's ability. Well, the only deed they have here is ruin a rival's exposed deed. So we use Vengeance to ruin Vengeance. And then we say, hey, green, do you want to keep Mimic in your deck? And they say, yeah, we do. We want that for our future life. The green player plays Crisis down as a deed. It's now our turn. We don't draw anything. We just have this card. And it says move the top card of rival's future life into your future life. Well, that Embody was pretty darn cool. So why don't we play this and steal this from their future life, put it into ours, and then we can say, hey green, do you want this for your future life? And they say, yeah, that's pretty good. It is a 2 blue. So that goes over there. The green player simply puts a card into their future life. It's now our turn, and we die. We have no cards in our hand and no cards in our deck. We score our deeds, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's huge. We don't need to use our rings. We go ahead and go up the ladder. We're now primates, just like green. All these deeds get ruined. And now we're in a relatively good position to make a play for the win. We only need to get to 5 because we have these 2 rings here. So let's go ahead and finish our reincarnation. We've got 3 cards in our hand, and we're going to draw 3 cards from the well to make our deck, and hopefully we can seal the deal and win this one. The green player plays Peek, which lets them look at a rival's hand, and then you can play another card. They're curious what we just drew, and they see that it's a bunch of green, so that's very worrying for the green player. We have a choice of keeping this for our future life, but it's not too interesting. Let's go ahead and discard it. The green player puts a card into their future life. Now it's our turn. We draw the top card of our deck. Let's see here. We do have a very strong situation here to try and push for the win. Again, we only need to get to 5. We already have 5 in our hand. 6 with this, and who knows what we'll pull out of that. So let's just try to sneak Voyage in. Let's go ahead and put that down as a deed and hope to get some protection of further deeds on before the green player can do anything with it. Unfortunately for us, the green player plays Embody. It says choose one of your deeds and play a copy of that deed's ability. Well, the only deed they have is Crisis, which says the rival of your choice ruins one of their deeds. So that's really unfortunate. This gets ruined here. We can keep Embody for a future life. It seems like a pretty good idea. It's prismatic and it's a pretty powerful ability, so that's a bit unfortunate for us. Alright, we draw the top card from our hand, and Huh, interesting. We just lost that really awesome green card, but now we have potentially 5 blue power in our hand. Again, we just need to get to 5. The text ability of these is, let's see, this one, move a top card from your opponent's future life into yours. See, they're both future life related, so we don't really want to do too much with those. Let's go ahead and take the Stolen Dreams and put that one down as a deed. The green player puts Hell's Heart down as a deed, and that ends their turn. All right, let's see what this card is. Oh, it's red. Dang it. Really hoping it would be blue. Let's see. Hell's Heart. Ruin the top 2 cards of your rival's future life. All right, this is getting a bit dicey. If we want to hit 5, we've got to exactly hit it with these 2 cards here. I think since we don't have a strong play on green anymore, we want to stall green out. They're about to die, so let's play Longevity on them. That'll force them to draw 2 cards from the well that go into their deck. We ask them if they want to keep Longevity in their future life, and they say they don't, actually. So the green player does not die as they were hoping to. They now draw the 1 card from the top, and they simply put it on top of their deck. Alright, I think this is our chance. They might have drawn a nasty card, but if they didn't, we could play Destiny down as a deed this turn. Then the green player draws this card. If it doesn't mess with us, then on the following turn we could play Mimic, and they won't be able to do anything because they're going to die. So let's give this a shot. It's a bit of a risk to see what card this is, but it might give us the win. Alright, the green player draws a card. They don't look too happy. They decide to just put it into their future life. Alright, it's looking like our plan's going to work. We're going to take Mimic, put that into our deeds. We've now got the 5+2 to make a play at this. That ends our turn, and the green player now dies because they have no cards in their deck or their hand, so they score. They have 4 red power plus 1 potential, which is 5, which is not enough. So these get ruined, and they get a Karmatic Rain because they don't go up the ladder. And they pull all these cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, into their hand, and they draw 1 from the well to make a new deck. It's our turn. We got this 1 card. We need to protect this 5, so let's put this Hell's Heart down on top there, pretty much sealing the deal. The green player draws this top card from their deck. They go ahead and put Thievery down as a deed. They don't look too terribly happy about it because they can see the writing on the wall. It's now the red player's turn. It's our turn, and we have no cards in our hand, and we have no cards in our deck, so we die. We score our deeds. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, since this is wild, plus this, 6, 7. That is all we need. We hit Transcendence. We discard these 2 tokens, and with that, we win this game of Karmaka. Now I'd like to briefly discuss a couple points having to do with Karmaka. The first point to this game, the thing that really pops off the table, is the art. As you saw, the cards in this game are just gorgeous. Pretty much every single part of this game, including the score tracker to see how far you are up on that ladder, is just this vibrant, wonderful art style that definitely works for me. I really enjoy that. When we're talking about the actual gameplay, I can say that I am in general not a fan of games with heavy take-that elements, and as you saw, many of the cards in the game interact with your opponents in various ways. Some of them in a very impactful way where you can really mess with their deeds in their area, and maybe they were about to level up on the ladder and now they're going to die and resurrect as the same level because you at the last minute knocked that 1 deed out. And in general, I really dislike this kind of stuff in games. But there's an interesting twist with this game, as you saw, where when you spend that really painful card on your opponent, you give it to them, and then it goes into their deck, and they're going to draw it up the next time they reincarnate, and they can use it back at you. So instead of just thinking, well, you know, this is good for me, bam, I'm just going to knock that thing out, you have to think, do I want them to have this card in their deck? Because the higher value the card is, the higher potency the effect. So you're either giving them a really good scoring card for their next life, or just the ability to really mess with you next time you try to reincarnate. In fact, maybe they reincarnate, get it in their hand, and get to you before you even die in a certain phase. So in general, I don't think I'm ever going to love a game that has heavy take-that aspects to it, but what I can say about Karmaka is its interesting twist on the take-that element makes it so that I did actually have some fun. There were some moments, some definite groan moments, was like, oh man, when I'm playing it, like, I just need to go around the table one more time, and oh, I'm not going to level up, and that's a bummer. But there were also moments where that tension was kind of exciting, and it would come around and you realize, oh, awesome, no one was able to mess with me, and now you turn it in and you get it. So it's an interesting ebb and flow, and I think this game is not going to be for everybody. I think if you watch that playthrough, you should have a pretty good idea if this is going to be the kind of game that you will enjoy. I think that many people will really, really like this game, but I think many people will also dislike the amount of direct player interaction that's in here. If you'd like to watch more full game playthroughs like this one, as well as in-depth reviews and vlogs, please subscribe to my channel. Also, you can directly support the channel at patreon.com/JohnGetsGames. Thanks for watching.